Welcome back. 6 questions to ask yourself when pricing your offer. That's what we're talking about today. Have you ever wondered what you should charge for the offer that you're making? Well, we're going to talk about that today. We are Nate and Simone, and we talk all things marketing. So let's jump into it. Why do we want to consider pricing? What does it like? Why should we even be considering this? Why shouldn't we just like pick a number out of the air?
Well, I mean, do you mean in I guess the easiest answer to that is so that you get paid. Like,
Right? You want to
um,
make money, right? This is why we're in
yeah,
business.
yeah. A lot of businesses, though, they don't really consider the reason behind the pricing. They may have gotten as far as, well, that's what the competition is doing, which is okay to a certain extent if you're selling things like gasoline, for example. I don't know about you, but I'm in a small town, and for some reason it seems the gasoline here is always consistently higher than other areas, but it's consistent. All of them are the same price. So that's interesting. But yeah, anyway, so that works to some degree, I guess. But there are other considerations to take into account when considering what you're going to price your product or service at. It's not as easy as a textbook formula, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to look at just the normal everyday things that a lot of people think about when they think about how they price. So we want you to think more strategically, more thoughtfully about how you are pricing your offers, so that you're not only getting paid for what you offer, but you can also sustain yourself in your business, and you can be more and have more longevity. All right. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, want to jump into our questions? What's the first
Sure.
question we should ask when we're
First
pricing?
question. Sure. First question: how are your prices currently determined? Start at the beginning, right? Start at the start here. What is the value of your product or service? Um, how much does your product or service cost you? You know, um, some people are reselling goods or services, in which case you need to take into consideration how much that is costing you to purchase it from the actual end provider, and then you're turning around and selling it for a markup to your end user, your customer. So that's obviously something you need to take into consideration. Um, are you charging based on time? The one thing I always say in marketing, you're either trading your time or you're trading money, and
Right.
that's the way it goes. Um, and I'm kind of going off of that. You can do anything in marketing with any budget. It's just going to take you a different amount of time. So thinking about that. But you know, I know a lot of freelancers will charge based on their time. I charge what, $100 an hour for custom website work, for example. Um, so in that case, you're saying that your time is this. This is how much you value your time at
Mhm.
$100 an hour. That's what it's worth to you. This is something that I also ask my customers to take into consideration, because their time has value. You know, And if they are valuing their time at a higher rate than you are charging, then it's a win-win, right? Because they are able to, in essence, buy back their time by
Absolutely.
by letting you do the thing that they're paying you for, and ostensibly, they are valuing their time at a higher rate than you were charging, and so they see it as a good deal. So something to consider there. What other
Absolutely.
any other factors that might influence current pricing that you can think of, Simone?
Well, a lot of people, when they think of their current pricing, they may have set their current pricing because a competitor set their price at maybe a slightly higher rate, and so they want to either or at the same rate. So they, like you were saying in your town, if the gas
Yeah,
station across the street has a particular rate, well, I don't want my prices to be higher because at first glance, for the same product, I don't want to look like I'm overcharging. I want to attract the people over to my gas station, um, because I don't want to look like I'm more expensive than the next guy. For people who are price shopping, so I
yeah.
may look at my competitors' prices.
That reminds me of a kind of a famous sign for a roadside establishment here in the great state of Indiana that said, a very prominent sign. It's no longer there, unfortunately, but I've seen this actually in a book somewhere. But it says, "Eat here and get gas."
I like that.
so, so, so they have that added bonus there, I guess, to really
Right.
convince you to come to choose
Come over
them.
there. That's good. So they're offering extra value
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the
Yeah.
money that you're spending or the time that you're spending, right?
Mhm.
Because maybe one gas station it's just a gas station, and then the other one across the street has a convenience store attached. And I am hungry, and I've got a long trip ahead of me. Well, which one am I going to go for? I'm going to go for the one where I can go get the snacks and get the gas at the same time.
I don't know about you. I don't know how we got on the gas stations, but this is for some reason just right here. This is a constant worry, I think, for a lot of people. But I really, if I'm going on a long trip, I almost always exclusively stop at Lowe's. I don't know about you. That's what we have around here. It's called Lowe's, and it's a
Yeah.
fantastic experience every time.
Oh,
It's always neat, always clean. They always have, I always know exactly what things I'm going to get when I go in there. They have my certain things that I always get, and I know what to expect. And you can get a cup of fruit and a soda or a sparkling water, or whatever. They have everything, and it's always in a good location. And price is
Mhm.
always really good. It's usually lower than others, I found. So
Oh.
interesting. Yeah.
Over here we have a place called Wawa. Um,
Yes.
based up
They're
in
opening
Baltimore.
up their first Wawa in Indiana, I
Oh,
think
really?
soonish. I think I remember seeing about that, yeah. People in
Wawa
people in
is
Pennsylvania
lovely.
are crazy about Wawa. So,
Wawa is wonderful.
yeah.
So if you can get a Wawa, count yourself blessed.
Yeah. And I
So
mean,
that's
these are
interesting.
all this is all things that these business owners for these particular establishments have taken into consideration, because gas is one of those items that's easily substituted, right? You can easily just go down the street and
Exactly.
get the same thing from somebody
Exactly.
else. You gotta provide further value, give them more reason to stop there, so
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, what's going to differentiate you from other people, other businesses, that's going to make people say, I'm going to get something extra over here.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So another question you might think of, or you may have thought of, when you set your current prices, was your client's ability to pay. So I used to have a coach that told us not to set our prices based on a client's willingness or ability to pay, because we don't know what's in their bank accounts. They may say, I can't afford this. But when you really lay out the value and you really let them know the cost of not getting your thing, your offer, And they realize, well, not getting it is going to cost them so much more than if they did get it. Well, all of a sudden, they dig up money that's been sitting in their savings account, and, and then they use it for your offer. So you never know.
Yeah. If what is this? There's a saying about this. I can't remember. There's a pithy statement about this, but it's something along the effect of like, if the problem is big enough, people will find a way to fix it.
Absolutely. Right. If
Yeah.
you're going to find a way to walk across the rope strung between two buildings, if your child is on the other side and you need to get to them because they're in danger, you will find a way. It's the same thing. Um, so another question we might ask is, how does your client benefit financially after the delivery of your product or service? It's kind of easy to calculate that, or to conceptualize that when what you offer is for other businesses, or something that may save someone money. But how do you calculate that when what you're offering is one of those non-tangible services or goods? Say you're offering therapy, or weight loss supplements or something. What do you think?
Yeah. Um, I was just trying to look this up, but there is a very cool. Bear with me one moment here. I'll be back here in a second. I'm kind of. Somebody told me one time about 7 things that people are willing to spend their money on. All right, you ready for this?
Mm.
So here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, Business owners, especially, they prior in particular. This is, I guess this could apply to, B2C as well as B2B, but people prioritize spending on time, money, uh, feeling good, getting a solution to their problem, good health, and children and or pets.
There you go.
And so if your service or product helps them save time, make money or save money,
Save money.
if you can give them good feelings, if you have a solution to their problem, obviously, if you can promise them good health, or if you can do something for their children or pets, then they will be happy to give you money. So
Yeah. And what's interesting is that even that feeling good one, sometimes that's one that I don't really think about. But I saw this interview where the coach was uh, he was really kind of coaching the interviewer in the interview, but he asked him a question like, why did you? He's wearing a pair of glasses, and the coach asked the guy like, why did you choose the Gucci pair of glasses rather than the ones that cost less? And he said, well, I was getting dressed this morning, and I tried on one and was like, it's okay. But then he put those down and he picked up the Gucci glasses and was like, these are the ones. This is what I'm wearing today. Um, and and so the coach said, well, you chose the more expensive glasses, not because of the price necessarily, but because they make you a better offer. One pair of glasses, like the cheaper pair of glasses, help you to see. They help you to see better. Whereas the Gucci glasses let you see yourself better.
ooh, yeah.
Isn't isn't that powerful? What a powerful statement. There is I can't remember the story. I think it was a story about like it was in one of the books I've been reading. I think Clockwork, right? Where he talked about this mom And sometimes, like, we think status is stuff that's luxury and expensive. It's not always that. Um, what your sense of status doesn't necessarily, it comes from the group that you're in, not necessarily from the expense of product or service. So um, this I think he was talking about, like, this couple who the husband had, his business is doing well, he's making lots of money, and but his wife is still driving a minivan. And so people are asking him, like, why is your wife still driving a minivan? She could be driving, something a lot more flashy, a lot more expensive, more luxury. So he asked his wife, like, I can get you another car. Like, why don't you want the other car? And his wife said, because um, I won't look like a good mom to my group of moms. She wants to
Yeah.
be that's a status for her.
Hmm.
Looking like the good mom, among her group of moms.
And
So,
this
you
this
know,
is this is where we go back to knowing your target customer, knowing
absolutely.
what motivates them.
Yeah,
Um, this
absolutely.
is crucial, absolutely crucial. Um, yeah, totally,
Lamborghini
totally.
wasn't going to do it for her. It's the minivan
um,
for her, right? That's the status.
yeah, yeah, it's so true. And and think about even something as simple as where do they live? Cost of
Mhm.
living in those
Yeah,
areas. Somebody in New York has a much higher tolerance for a much higher rate than somebody living in, you know, Alabama, or, that's just the way it is.
true.
Um, so something
Yeah.
to take into consideration. But the one other thing that I was thinking here, uh, how much are you saving them? Taking that consideration. I think we were talking a little bit earlier about, let's say, somebody from the financial services industry, for example. If you're able to offer them something that gets them customers, well, if you take into consideration how much those customers are worth and the lifetime customer value for that business,
Mhm.
and then take into consideration how much it would cost them, given their current methods, to acquire those customers, cost of acquisition. So these are
Mhm.
all, and um, as part of your discovery process, figuring out if they're keeping track of these types of metrics is going to be important. We'll talk about metrics, I
Yeah.
think, later. But
So it's not just
um,
your own costs that should be considered, it's your client's costs
yeah,
that should be
what are
considered
you
in your
saving
pricing.
them? How much are you saving them by being able to acquire customers for them? Are you able to get them at a better rate? You know, and then, would they have to hire somebody normally as a full time, pay benefits, pay vacation, all that, where you could step in and take over and do the same thing essentially, without all those cost considerations. So
Absolutely. All right. So you're saving them costs, you're saving them from unnecessary expenses. You're also saving them time, like, helping them to buy back their time. Those are definitely considerations. So another question to ask yourself is, what is the value to your customer of your product or service? What tangible and intangible improvements are you making to their business, their life, their pets, their kids? um, you know, that should
yeah,
definitely be taken into consideration, because just because your cost for something is $2 to you, but to your client, if you're saving them a world of headaches and stress and that kind of thing, then maybe you shouldn't charge $3 for your thing. Maybe you should charge much more.
yeah, and this is where, going back to the idea of customer lifetime value, what is that customer worth to them over the lifetime of, the average lifespan with them, time spent with them as a customer.
Mhm.
And you start to really see there are sort of compounding benefits, that you can tap into. Um, it's not just about this one thing that you're doing for them. It's the thing that is the whole purpose behind it. Like
Oh,
nobody builds a website just to have a website, right? Ultimately, they want a website because they want more customers. Well,
right.
are you able to get them more customers? How much of those customers worth to them? Then once you start thinking about that and the number of customers that you could get them, it starts to make the cost of that website seem really reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So why are you valuable? That's another question to ask. Why are you valuable? What is your unique selling proposition? What's your unique deliverable? What can you do that nobody else does? How do you wow your clients? What keeps them coming back? Speaking of that lifetime value, you want to keep them coming back. Um,
And then
and
how can you upsell them? How can you increase sales as well during that
exactly.
lifetime? Yeah.
Exactly. How do you, like with coaching programs, sometimes you don't want to just offer one program. You want to be able to graduate them from one program and take them to the next level in another program, right? So what's gonna keep them coming back to you? What makes you different from, the guy next door?
And yeah, this is we've had other discussions about this, but knowing your target market and what sets you apart, just
Mhm.
fundamental rules of shaping your marketing and how you approach your customers. Can't stress it enough because it keeps coming back up.
It
Um,
does. So that the what we do at the beginning of our in our branding process and in our validation process and learning the customer and learning what we can bring to the customer, that is fundamental work that will help us um, for the rest of as we are pricing and as we are making our offers and creating our offers and all of that. So yeah, all of that is fundamental. Um, so our last question to ask, what is the uppermost limit that you can charge where you can always have plenty of people willing to pay? So it's a little bit like what you said in New York. If my client lives in New York, that upper limit might be higher than for, say, a client living in Alabama or Arkansas.
yep. And that just has to do with what they're used to paying for the same services in their market. It's a different market. Same services, same, I guess, expected outcome.
Mhm.
But there's a different expectation when it comes to pricing in those markets.
Yeah.
And this is market research 101, like knowing what the market will bear. You have to do your competitive intelligence research and figure out what your competition is selling for. Are you able to come in and sell at a lower price and still maintain your margins and perhaps undercut the local competition? But then if we're going to get to this in a second, but
Mhm.
that starts to become a slippery slope when you start to think about it that way. But
True, because what
it is,
you don't want to have a race to the bottom.
yeah. But nonetheless, you need to have an idea of what's going on in your
True.
market. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that research. So speaking of this, your competitor prices falls under what not to consider when you're setting your prices. So we want to look at what the competitors are doing, but making that your decision point for setting your own prices, what it is that they're doing. For you don't want to make that your what you base your prices on. It's good to see what they're doing, see what they're offering based on their price. But just know that you are unique. You have a unique selling proposition, and their prices aren't necessarily indicative of what you are offering. So that
Yeah.
direct comparison that's for people who are selling commodities, right? I own a hardware store, and there's a hardware store across the street. We both sell packages of nails. You know, when that guy lowers his price, I have to lower mine because it's the exact same package of nails, right?
Yeah. But
But if
in my
you're
case, I have
coaching or consulting, it's different.
my local hardware store. Yeah, they might have to worry about the competition and whatnot, but they have free popcorn. So, you know.
Right, right. So you're offering a little bit more value, bring people over to your, so it's not, so then you end up making it by your hardware store offering something a little bit extra. He's eliminated that one-to-one comparison.
It just gives you that much more reason to consider him over the other one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, and if his store is cleaner and he's friendlier and everybody's wearing uniforms and
All the better. Yep.
the support is greater,
That's where
is
you
better.
really have to concentrate on customer experience. That is
Yes,
crucial in that case, you know.
exactly. So another thing you don't want to consider is attracting customers who buy based on low prices. Like I said, you don't want to have a race to the bottom, because that's a no-win situation for everyone involved, honestly. Um, we get into
Yeah,
business to make a profit, and so we can live a healthy life, provide jobs, you know, all of that. And you
yeah.
can't do that if you're barely making it.
And I think this has to do with that particular business owner's maybe has a unrealistic view of the market themselves. Maybe
Mhm.
they don't fully understand everything that goes into it. They have a budget based on what they're able to afford. But I see this a lot in marketing. I'm sure you do as well, Simone. But you know, a lot of customers want more than they're willing to pay for, and so
Yeah,
it's
especially customers who are looking for the lowest price.
right.
They want more than they're willing to pay for.
Yeah,
There was a
and
graphic.
go ahead.
There was this graphic that went around last week that said my $500 client is going to is gonna just be asking me for, like, is this worth it? Is, you know, what are all of the metrics, and give me all of your testimonials, you know, all for $500. And they're asking question after question after question. They want to make sure, okay, this is worth it. Is this worth this $500? You know, what's my ROI going to be on this? Whereas your $50,000 client says, where do I send the check, or where do I,
Right, right.
how will you accept
I'll
this? And that's
I'll
it.
talk to you next month.
Yeah. There's,
Yeah,
send me the invoice.
and a lot of that has to do with, well, obviously how much they have available to them in terms of, you know, just revenue dollars and whatnot. But then it's also how well have you uh, sold this, you know, the value that you're actually providing to the customer as well. If
And it's
if
also their
if they're
mentality.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's a combination of both, I think.
Yeah,
But
they're much more willing to invest in themselves.
yeah,
And they're much more, when they get to a level like that, like you said, a level of where they're able to pay for stuff, and um, they're bringing in a good amount of revenue. They understand, by the time they get to that level, they understand that they have to invest in order to improve. So they're willing to do it.
yeah. And those customers that are paying at that lower level have a lower customer lifetime value as well, because
Absolutely.
they're more likely to jump ship at the next lowest price. So
Yeah. So another thing to not consider, gut feelings about what they'll be willing to pay. You don't know. You're just kind of going off your gut, relying solely on intuition without actually doing research. That, yeah, going off gut feeling, you just don't know. And if you don't do the research, then you don't know for sure the number. You have studied the numbers. So like we were saying before, you see what's happening in the market. Research your clients, your ideal clients and customers. What are they willing to pay? What will the market actually handle? There is a um, there is a method that a lot of people use when they are testing the market. They will offer something at a they'll offer something at a low price, and if they get a flood of people saying, oh, I want this, and get a flood of people buying, then that's what tells them that they need to raise the price. And then whereas another business owner will do the same thing, but only on the opposite end. They'll release something at a high price, and if nobody buys, they'll lower it until people do start buying. That's an interesting way
yeah,
to conduct research, but you
the
know,
thing is,
it's
the thing
something
is,
that seems to work.
with pricing, it's easier to come down than it is to go up.
Yeah, true.
You know, if you set the bar high, you can always walk it back, and people will be thrilled. You know, but people are not going to be too happy if you're raising. You know what I
They're
mean?
raising it,
So, I
unless, of course, like you're saying, like it's people are getting you're getting a flood of customers, and
yeah,
then you raise the price.
yeah,
I've heard people say this. You get a flood, and then you raise the price, and you keep raising it until, like you say, they get to the point where, okay, I'm not willing to pay this.
mhm,
That then, okay, come back down a step.
yeah,
Then, okay,
yep,
this is the good price, right? I'm getting a
yep.
good amount of customers,
There
but I
was,
know I'm not selling it too cheap.
yeah, and we had our discussion with John Chapman the other day, and one thing that he did for his consulting project with one company he was working with, um, they figured out the top paying customers, it was making up like the 20% of their customers were accounting for at least 80 to 90% of the entire revenues for the company. And so they said, okay, well, we're going to raise prices, um, and see who stays on and who leaves. So they ended up losing 70% of their customers, but then they still made, even more money though, by raising prices and keeping that small um, percentage, and really focusing on those as like the core group that they really wanted to have.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a good metric to have, is to see which of your clients are actually paying you 80% of your revenue. You get rid of the others, you end up with a better core of clients, and you end up with people that you actually want to work with rather than people who are just draining you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
um, so the next one on the list of things that you do not want to consider is allowing a apples to apples comparison. So in this case, you want to maintain focus on what sets you apart, what differentiates you, what is your USP, not really focusing. Well, yeah, you can get this over here. You don't want to really allow that to happen,
Yeah. You
if
don't
you
want
can
to
avoid
set
it.
yourself on the exact same playing field as everybody else, because you're not everybody else. You're unique.
Yeah, and there's the whole, I think we've talked about in this other discussion about the idea of mapping the customer journey and the content that you're putting out there on the internet, um, in order to attract customers at different points along their buying journey, along their customer journey. Um, at some point, a customer that is in a market looking to buy something is probably going to be doing sort of comparison shopping, right? They've created a list of services or solutions to their problem, and then they go out there and try to figure out, well, which one am I going to end up on? And if you can actually, if you create content that addresses that and allows a comparison to a certain degree, then great. And then that's where you'll see on websites, you'll see, us compared to this competitor, compared to this competitor. And it'll be like
Mhm.
everything that you do compared to them. And then, it'll show like checks in all of your boxes. And then eventually on the competitors, it stops, filling in the check boxes. So that's, it's still, to some degree, there's an apples to apples there, but you're definitely showing the things that you do and they do not, and if you are able to create that content, and that helps make your customers decision that much easier then too, because they don't have to go around to try to figure out what this competitor has, you've done it for them, so.
Yeah, yeah. The more time you save them, the more valuable you are.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a big one. Not offering premium price options. So definitely you want to offer your premium priced options. My one of my favorite mentors, he likes to say every solution creates 10 new problems. So if you're you have to look at the solutions to the problems that your solution is creating, but you also want to look at what might be the next step up for that client. And he likes to compare, like, what is it, Mercedes-Benz started offering the Maybach car. And they started doing that because their customers were graduating from Mercedes. They wanted something even and of even higher value. Well, Mercedes didn't want to lose them to Rolls-Royce, so they created uh, their own even higher end car. What's the next step?
Outdoing each other in premium offerings, yeah, that's interesting.
Exactly. Exactly.
um yeah, I
And
mean,
there's a
sure.
market for it.
Yeah.
It's not like there's not a market for it.
Yeah, your inability to see that is really what's at in question here. That's, um,
Yeah.
because I can guarantee that there's people out there willing to pay for it. You just have to find them and be able to, or to have something to offer them. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah. Also heard, like, yeah, another thing too, like when people come to you and you're offering them a solution, you don't want them to leave you in the same condition that they were in when they came to you. So if they're leaving and they're in a better condition, well then, if you want to improve the lifetime value of a customer, well then now it's time to offer them a premium value service, or a premium offer or continuity offer or something like that, that will keep them with you, because for one, they trust you, they've been working with you, they've been a customer. And then if they're not in the same place where they were when they came to you, well, what state are they in now, and what can you offer them to support that new state, to help them get to their next level?
yeah, and
That's
hopefully the state that they're in is not poorer because they've worked with you, but
right, right. You want them to be even
yeah,
better off. And so if
even
they're
even
better off, take them to that next level.
yeah, even if they're going in the right direction but haven't gotten there yet, this is,
Yeah,
you can offer them, hey, this is how we're going to get there.
absolutely. And number six, what not to consider, feeling that you don't deserve to charge. So this is
Yeah.
more of a mindset shift that needs to take place in your
Yeah,
mind.
definitely.
Um, you know,
How
if
much did
if
you
you're
spend in your education to get where you are, you know?
right, you're not underestimating your worth, what you can do for people, undervaluing your services,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know, not
How
having confidence in what you bring to the table.
how how much? So, think about, like I think I mentioned earlier, how much do you value your time? And then
Mm,
think about, what if you are working on this thing for this customer, what are you not working on? Opportunity costs, right?
mhm.
Take that, you got to take that into consideration. And what are your revenue goals? If you are trying to hit a certain number, is working doing this thing for this customer, because that's the finite thing you have to think about each year, right? It's time. So thinking about your revenue target in terms of time, how much time you have is crucial. Um, and
Knowing that your time isn't worth any less than anybody else's.
Absolutely, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It's
if you have experience and what you do is of excellent quality, then absolutely it's valuable. Don't think that it's not.
Yep.
So you know what?
And
A lot of people tend to undervalue what they bring because for them it's normal. Somebody was telling me that the other day, like Simone, um, just my creativity. I don't really have a lot of creativity when it comes to arts and music and stuff like that. But when it comes to business, I can be very creative. And so when people talk to me and they tell me about their businesses and what they want to do, um, for me, it's very easy for me to just come up with great ideas off the top of my head to help them move forward. And sometimes I think, that's a normal thing. Like anybody can do that. But my friend let me know, like, no, Simone, this is special. This is like not everybody can do that. They don't think in the same way that you do. So
yeah,
just because it's you doesn't mean it's not valuable.
yeah. I think, was it Justin Welsh posted something about this on LinkedIn that's kind of stuck in my mind. He said something pretty simple. I can guarantee you that something that you think is normal is worth $5,000 to somebody.
Hmm.
You know, because
And it's
you have
true.
things that you do, and the way that you think, people, not everyone thinks that way, not everyone does it that way. And just because it's easy to you, um, it may be extremely difficult to somebody else, or impossible, and that's why they want to pay you. um,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. So, so yeah, when you're considering your prices, set aside these what is it? These imposter syndrome thoughts. All right. You're not an imposter. You can do this. What you bring to the table is worth it. So don't lower your price because you're thinking this is easy for you. You can do this in your sleep. Just because you can do it in your sleep does not mean that somebody else doesn't value it. There's
Exactly.
a story about, I don't know if it was Ford, but it was a story about a factory owner years ago, like back in like during the Industrial Revolution. Um, Something broke down with his machine and stopped all production. So they find the guy who can fix it, and the guy comes. Before they found him, they were spending all this time trying to figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. They find the guy, find the expert. He comes along. He takes 15 minutes and fixes it, and it's done. And he says, that'll be $10,000, please. And the factory owner was like, what? Why are you charging me $10,000? It only took you 15 minutes to do this. The guy mentioned it, hey, it's not about the time. Guess what? It took me 30 years to learn how to do that in 15 minutes.
Hmm.
That'll be $10,000, please.
Exactly. Exactly. You've lived
Right?
an entire lifetime, all your experience, all your education, everything that's led up to you being able to do the thing that you do right now is what you're asking people to pay for. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's
definitely got
all
value.
of it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that is our conclusion. Like there are things that you need to ask yourself and things that you need to not consider when it comes to your pricing. So be thoughtful in your pricing, making sure that you are using thoughtful consideration and not just how much it's costing you and your competitors' prices, right? We want to move towards appropriate, meaningful pricing built around your unique selling proposition, what makes you unique, rather than, oh, hey, he's selling the nails for $2. I need to sell mine for $2. That's not necessarily, you don't want to necessarily just consider, well, how much does it cost you to get these nails and how much is my competitor selling it for, right? So let's keep those in mind as we are pricing our offers and then making them to the people. Any last words before we log off?
I thinking of I think it was Chris Doe. I don't know if you are familiar with him, but he has some great videos that he's created about pricing, and he talks about this a lot actually. But one thing that he said, if I think that was Chris Doe, but he said basically, don't ever justify your pricing. So essentially, there's a lot that goes into it. That it's priced. That is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the price is the price. Either pay it
Price
or
is the
not.
price. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, like the video, share it with others so that they can get some insights on their pricing, and comment below and let us know your takeaways. How are you pricing your offers? What are you considering? And we'll see you back here again next time. Talk to you
Bye
later.
bye.